you tired of the mainstream media lying to you every single day? You are not alone. Millions of other Americans are sick of the corporate media fake news of the MSNBC, CNN, ABC, NBC, New York Times, other Times, Washington Post, Political. Every single one of them are in the bag for the Democrats. They are all Team DNC. But now you have another option in independent creators like here on the Cash Loren Show. Well, we will go and we will expose the deep state, these unelected bureaucrats, and the mainstream media, along with the Democrats and their friends in the Rhino Uniparty, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Get the facts on the Cash Loren Show. I am your host, America's Truth Teller, shining a bright red light on the corruption and the hoaxes from the mainstream media and the Democrat Party. You're not going to want to miss a single moment. Join the American First Movement Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern. This is the Cash Loren Show. Welcome back, everybody. As we are on to a Friday, and there's in the world of politics, so much is always happening. It never seems to stop. Is we just have all these stories that happen as just a rough and tough world of the politics. Yet I'm your host, Cash Loren, and we will break it down every single day as we start off today with Elon Musk, who has chosen to risk everything to serve our country with Donald Trump to save it from the Uniparty and the Democrats as they try to bring us closer and closer to their government rule. The one thing that was never supposed to happen is Trump was never supposed to come back. From 2016, 2020, that was supposed to be it. You remember how Chuck Schumer said, the intelligence agencies, they have 6 ways from Sunday to take you out. So as a smart businessman, it's very bad for him to go after these intelligence agencies. That's the way that they have thought, and that's the way that they have corrupted our government and grown it for a very long time. That don't you even try it. You know, if you even dare to go up against us, we'll use every single alphabet soup agency there is in the federal government, and we will ruin your life. We will destroy your businesses. We will throw you in prison. We'll do everything in our power. So don't even dare. Just don't even try. But Donald Trump did try. Donald Trump did fight. And Donald Trump did win twice. Something that they never thought can ever happen. Yet here we are. Even after all their impeachment hoaxes and their felony hoaxes and the assault hoaxes and the boxes hoaxes, one after another, none of them worked. The thing is for the deep state is that ultimately you had to believe them. And there was for the longest time when the majority of people did, where they didn't think that our government was so corrupt, it was almost unthinkable. I mean, it wasn't even that long ago. If you would even started to talk about the deep state, all of a sudden people would just think you're crazy. Yeah, most people are like, yeah, you know, we're probably not even going far enough. And as we go and show, I think you're going to find out that we are 100% right. And this brings on to Elon Musk as well. Have you noticed that how many people have started to switch over to our side of the fence? As the Democrats, as they push further and further and left, there's actually more and more people that are coming to and joining our side. Even when most of them, when they would have considered themselves basically liberals or kind of middle left, a lot of people will say, you know, I agree liberally with social policies, but I kind of agree more with, you know, conservative policies like on a federal level or the government. But socially, I'm kind of more liberal. Okay, so most people, I think, in the United States, it's pretty fair to say that they're somewhere in the middle, probably mostly middle left. However, the Democrats, they've gone so crazy and so insane that now they're pushing everybody over into the right. You have people like Elon Musk who used to sit back and go, I'm a Democrat, basically. I'm middle left. And he did that meme where he was in the middle left. And then the Democrats, they kept pushing so far to the left that Elon Musk looked around, he found himself on the right. You know, how many of you feel that way? And this is even leading to people like Donald Trump, who for the longest time and most of his life, he was a New York Democrat. In fact, it's very funny how he has a very similar career to Ronald Reagan, who was also a career California Democrat until he realized how commie the left was. And you think they were commie back then, they're even more blatantly commie now. And the Democrats, they've gone so far to the left that they find themselves on the wrong side of every single 80-20 issue there is. From the economy to deportations to tariffs to every single one, crime, law and order, all of it. The Democrats can't point to a single issue, even like women's rights, that they used to, be very proud of, that they had all the women, because the Democrat Party, who they are the party of miserable women and weak men. Now they're finding out that there's not enough of them to actually withhold power. So they're trying to pretend that somehow they're going to be back in the middle, or they're going to go for the young vote or the white people, all the ones that they've shunned and chased out of their party, essentially push them over onto the right. And now they're like, why are you over there? They say, well, because you pushed me over there. Well, you're a racist, or you're a bigot, or you're a homophobe. And Elon Musk found himself in the very same spot. Middle left, he was the Tesla guy. Right, remember all the Democrats used to pretend they cared about electrical vehicles for their climate change. Now all of a sudden, the minute that Elon Musk went over to Donald Trump's, all of a sudden they're trying to burn down his dealerships and key his cars and ruin his life and ruin his businesses. Someone like Tim Walz sitting there bragging when Elon Musk's stock for Tesla was going down briefly before it went back up. And how happy he was, because all the Democrats care about is power. Okay, they don't care about the climate. They don't care about women. They don't care about law and order. They don't care about any of it. All they care about is power. And anything else they do or say besides that is just to give themselves more of that power. They will say or do anything. Do not doubt me for a single second. And this is like people like Elon Musk, like Tulsi Gabbards, like the RFKs, and probably like many of you who used to be on the left, now all of a sudden finding yourself strangely on the right. And Elon, he just loves our country. He's the ultimate example of American exceptionalism, where he was a foreign born, right? He came to this country with a dream, and now he's the richest man in the world. Where else in the world can you do that? Where else do you have this kind of opportunity to build something out of nothing? It's only in the American dream. This is what built up so much of our way of life. It's very much ingrained into the way we think and we believe, where you work hard, you sacrifice, and you can be rewarded for those sacrifices. Not like in the years past, where if you were, let's say, a butcher, you were a butcher, or you're a candlestick maker, you're the candlestick maker, right? Any of those, you were just kind of stuck. Or if you were born into poverty, if you weren't born in the right house, then there was no way for you to really get out. None of that is true in America. Even with all the damage the Democrats have done to our country, you can still come from nothing and build vast amounts of wealth and success in a single generation. And it's certainly not easy. It is very, very hard. Do not doubt that for a single second. There is nothing easy about success. It is grueling, it is hard, but the reward is worth it. And that's our side of the fence. Unlike the Democrats, who want everybody to be poor and everybody to be victims so they can have power to rule over your lives. And if you dare to go against them for a single second, they will try to ruin your life, just like they did to Donald Trump, and just like they did to Elon Musk, and just like they've done to many, many others. The famous ones, even the people like the January 6th and all the others, that people that they have destroyed their lives for doing nothing more than trying to go up against the Democrat Party. When they enjoy the two-tier justice system, where they can basically do any crimes they want and face no justice. But if you dare to do anything, they will send everything they can at you. And if that doesn't work, they'll try to slander you. They'll call you a racist or a bigot or a homophobe, a transphobe, a right nationalist, an extreme MAGA Republican. Whether they believe it or not, they don't care. At the end of the day, all it really is for them to try to shut you up. Elon Musk fought back and he won. Just like this, I hope people learn that we have to fight back and we have to win, because when we fight back, that's exactly what happens. So he helped form DOGE and to expose federal government's waste, fraud, and corruption. Now, who would be against that? Don't you want to know where your tax dollars are going? I know I do. And if they bring in $5 trillion and then $7 trillion go out the door, where's all that money going to? Your Congress is supposed to be watching over this, but what they've done is they've given everything over to this shadowy deep state, who some might call the blob, or I'm starting to call the beast from the abyss, because that's what they are. These are these unelected bureaucrats that actually make the decisions and run Washington, D.C. If you want to see how the federal government really works, you'll probably never have more of a clearer view than we do of right now. And this is what Donald Trump and Elon Musk is trying to expose, and be very watchful of the ones that are trying to stop them. Because when the Democrats, what they always do when they want power is they always lie to you about anything just to try to get you to shut up. When they talk about, like, keep your hands off our paychecks, or they're going after Medicaid, right? They're going to take millions of people off Medicaid. And even though they're lying about the numbers, what they're also lying about is that they put illegal immigrants on Medicaid. Just like they lied about FEMA and the FEMA funds. Remember when they hit like North Carolina and they didn't have the money for the hurricanes because they had given it away to all the illegal immigrants. And Mayorkas and all the others, they all lied about what they were doing. But ironically, also in that is that it was so easy to prove that they were lying because they were all on C-SPAN talking about giving your money away to FEMA. As people like me and others showed clips over and over again of Mayorkas testifying to Congress and Congress members asking for FEMA money for illegal immigrants, and Mayorkas saying that he was going to deliver it for them. The Department of Treasury, for another example, had $5 trillion go out the door that they can't account for. DOGE has been cutting all these useless programs that are eking up to hundreds of billions of dollars. Isn't this exactly what all of you want? Because I know it's what I want. I mean, just imagine if we didn't have to pay income tax anymore. Elon Musk, he's talking about $7 trillion that he can cut out of that. He can cut $2 trillion. And I think that can get even a much further than that. I think we're just scratching the surface. We're talking about things like USAID and NGOs, as they're in the news a lot. We're not even talking about the federal the unions yet. Wait till you find out what they're doing with your tax money. That's really going to blow your minds, as that entire hoax of taking your tax money in and then giving it back out to Democrats and liberal causes. As corrupt as USAID is, and as corrupt as NGOs are, and they are corrupt, and they need to be ended, this is going to also blow people's minds. They're just not there yet. And when this all gets exposed, I will be here with you, and we will continue to show all of it. What fake news, when Democrats don't want you to ever know, is they want the exclusive rights to lie to you, the American people. As when they talk about misinformation and disinformation, hate speech, when they really mean is that they don't want anyone else to be able to tell truths that they don't want you to know. So they can lie to you like they've done for decades, but the difference between decades from then to what it is now we can actually have large enough audiences that we can show the truth. See, before you could only go to MSNBC or CNN or ABC, NBC, any one of those, and they would sit there and they lie every day, but most people would never know because it was so hard to dig and find any information. And people like who thought like you, who are independent thinkers, they would go, I don't think this is right. This doesn't sound right to me, but maybe everybody does think this way. I mean, if I turn on the TV and MSNBC is saying this, and then I flip the channel and CNN is saying the same thing, or I read my newspaper, New York Times or LA Times or Washington Post, and they're all saying the same thing, well, maybe the oddball is me. Maybe I'm the one that is weird, but you're not. There is nothing wrong with love in this country. There is nothing wrong with masculinity. There is nothing wrong with being a nurturing woman. There is something very beautiful about the nuclear family as a mother and a father raising children under our Lord Savior Jesus Christ. This is what helped create the greatest country this world has ever known. And the Democrats, they want to destroy it. They think of America as bad and America is evil and it's just got blood on our hands. And it doesn't matter what you do, you can never, ever wash the stain off. right? You will never stop repenting for the sins of the past, real or imagined. It doesn't matter to them because they want to leverage this for power over you. So what's always the Democrats' answer? If you look at their actions and not what they say, what is their answer every time? Is they want to tax you more and more so they can have more power so that they can decide what is right and what is wrong. That is one of the most un-American things there is. And the Democrats are literal communists. They want to take this Constitution that's back behind me and they want to throw it out the way. And they want to argue that there's a constitutional crisis or this is a threat to our democracy. But what it really is a threat to their bureaucracy. Just like Donald Trump is, and just like Elon Musk is, as they and others like me have been exposing all their lives. And if you agree, take a moment, hit the follow button, and share this post and help us go and share in a conservative American first message with your audiences, as we're going to show how the fake news lies and how they would have continued to get away with it if it wasn't programs for this, as Elon Musk explains as one of his last days in DOGE.
New York Times, is that the same publication that got a Pulitzer Prize for false reporting on the Russiagate? Is it the same organization?
I got to check my Pulitzer counter.
It is. I think the judge just ruled against New York Times for their lies about the Russiagate hoax, and that they might have to give back that Pulitzer Prize. That New York Times, let's move on.
You will never hate fake news networks enough. Never, never, ever. It doesn't matter how much you hate them. It's not enough. Going back to Russiagate, is this was completely made up by the Democrats from the very start. Through Obama, paid through by the Clintons, through the Steele dossier, into the Comey's FBI, and then out the mainstream media. Okay, they all knew that Russia was a hoax right from the start, and yet they all ran with it for years. And they put the Donald Trump's administration through 2 years of hell. And even to this day, they still call you a Putin's puppet from this very hoax that the Democrats made up from the start. And like you said, the New York Times got a Pulitzer for it, and they'd probably still be getting away with it if it wasn't for people like Elon Musk purchasing X, where now we can finally expose the truth. See, the main way they lie is much worse than most people realize, because there's one way to lie to people. That's where you blatantly lie to them. Those are much easier to expose. But the much harder lies to expose are the ones where they will tell you partial truths, but not tell you the whole truth. Because if you knew the whole story, then you never come to the conclusion that they want you to come to. And that's where mainstream media and Democrats will lie all this time. Like when they lie about Medicaid and say all these people are going to lose Medicaid, but they don't tell you that it's the illegal immigrants that are getting deported and shouldn't have your tax money in the first place. Or like Russia, which is completely made up by the Democrats right from the very start to undermine the duly elected president. It's the exact same tactics that they used back in 2016 that now they're trying to use now. But instead of using mainly the mainstream media, now they're trying to use their judges. And all these activist judges that don't care about the law, who don't care about what you voted for, they think that they can sit there and they can just tell you what laws they make up from the bench. It doesn't matter that 80 million of you voted for Donald Trump. Because in their minds, they're smarter than you. They're better than you. They have Ivy League degrees. They went to Harvard, right? They went to Yale. They went to all these very uppity colleges, and they are smarter than you, and they are better than you, and they are born to rule. I mean, they shouldn't even have to explain themselves to you. This is stuff that it's beyond your understanding. You know, this is about social justice, and this is about DEI, and this is about making America get down on its knees to pay for its past crimes, which of course they then get to put themselves at the top of the pyramid to decide what you have to pay for their imaginary sins. And in this next clip up, you know what, my clock is screaming at me. Okay, so we're gonna come back. We're gonna have Elon Musk, he's going to talk about the judicial coup. And then we're also going to have SCOTUS, as they made a huge ruling in Donald Trump's favor today. You're not going to miss that, but I got to go and take this greedy profit break. We'll be right back. This is the Cash Loren Show. StreamYard is the all-in-one solution towards streaming video online across multiple platforms. It is the same program that I use to host and produce this show every single day, both live streaming across multiple platforms, as well as doing pre-recorded videos to put up, whether it be a YouTube, X, or anywhere else on the internet. If you are looking for a host for your live streams, look no further. Click on the link below and sign up for StreamYard today. You will not regret it. It is both user-friendly for beginners, easy to understand, and has lots of tools built inside it. Don't wait. Click on the link below and sign up for StreamYard today. Creators, are you tired of spinning your wheels, posting over and over again, yet you seem to gain no traction and no growth? We have a solution called the Accelerator. This is what I use to grow my account from 0 to now over 25,000 followers and counting. This program will teach you how the algorithm works and how to maximize your time with third-party tools to 10x your growth. I purchased it and I'm glad I did, and you will be too. Click on the link below and you will not only be for your benefit gaining the Accelerator course, but you will also be helping the show by a small percentage being donated back here. So click on the link below, sign up for the Accelerator today. I am glad I did, and I know that you will too. If you are watching this show, then you are probably sick and tired of the corporate media we call fake news lying to you every single day. You are not alone. This has caused many citizen journalism, as much as I hate to say the J word, that's really what we're doing, is exposing the fake news networks and the corrupt government every day without the filter of the corporate media deciding what you can and cannot know. Many of us make these videos with the extra room that we have in our houses, just like I am here in our spare bedroom. But making these is not free. We have families to feed as well. If you are enjoying this content, then it will always be free, and I thank you for your support. But if you want to help monetarily, there is a great way to do that on Locals. Click on the link below, sign up for our different tiered programs, and we will have additional content for you based on the level that you sign up for, including being thanked in the end of videos every single day. Take a moment, if you enjoy this content, and sign up for the monetary support and help us stay on air and offer you more benefits, such as more shows and better production. So sign up for today at Locals and support the citizen journalisms and help us get past the fake news networks. We had a very huge win today going into the weekend with SCOTUS, who finally ruled in the favor of the American people. And this is a lot to do with deportations and helping us take out every single illegal immigrant out of this country. Something that is very, very popular with the American people, but the Democrats, they despise it because they see illegal immigration as Democrat votes, either now or later. Either now by registering them to vote, 2, by making them legal citizens, or 3, abusing the birthright citizenship to make their children come and be American citizens in the future, and then that will be future voters for the Democrat Party decades from now. Okay, most elections are not won by very much, but the typical you find like a presidential election might be won by 70,000 votes. And I know where you see like millions of separation in the final number, but most of that is in states that are won handily, one side or the other. And it's the few swing states and the few counties that actually end up deciding who will be your president. So you might see like 2 or 3 million separation. It's really, when you break it down, to like 70,000 votes. Well, what happens when the Democrats bring in 10 and 20 million illegal immigrants in this country? And then whether they're voting now or they're voting later, this will lead to a one-party rule, which is why the Democrats are fighting so hard to keep as many illegal immigrants as they can here. It's why they left their borders open for the last 4 years. Do not doubt me on a single second for this. The entire reason for the illegal invasion of our country was for future Democrat voters. However, you, the American people, you voted against this. And now the Democrats, they're all the way back down to their judges. And I want to play this clip before we get into Stephen Miller's. He torches CNN about Elon Musk, what he thought of this judge coup that we're facing now in the United States.
To the president's point, there's been immense judicial overreach that is unconstitutional. That was never intended. And it's undermining the people's faith in the legal system. It needs to stop. It's gone too far.
And just today, we had, just a couple of hours ago, we had a great decision from the Supreme Court, thank goodness, that was very important. We had 2 important decisions.
Yeah, we're going to get into the Supreme Court here, Mike, because they ruled 7-2. That so the Biden administration, would back up for a second. So the Biden administration, they allowed to come into our country millions and millions, but this particular with the Supreme Court ruling, or 500,000 illegal immigrants, see if we can find them in my notes, from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. So north of 500,000 of them came into this country. Remember, we were just talking just a few minutes ago how elections are often won only by 10,000. Sometimes in local elections, they're only won by maybe 100 or a couple thousand. And that's how close our elections actually are, which is why the Democrats are fighting so hard to keep them here. Because even if they can keep 1,000 or 100,000, that can completely change in the election. And they know this. But now that Donald Trump was never supposed to come back, and now that he is, he's doing everything that he campaigned on, that you voted for, as Donald Trump was very open about securing our border and deporting illegal immigrants. And he has the constitutional protected right to do so. He is the sole executor of our federal government. He is the only person in the federal government that every single United States citizen votes on. It's coming out right now in California, for example, where they're starting to figure out that if, without illegal immigrants, the California would lose 5 seats, and it might even be worse. Now, what about like New York or some of the other places? There was reports coming out last year that could be as much as Democrats without illegal immigrants could lose 20 House seats. Imagine what a difference that would make. This is why they're fighting so hard to keep these illegal immigrants here. And the way that they decide to try to do it now is with this judicial coup. And make no mistake about it, that's exactly what it is. As they go and they try to take these judges and write law from the bench. And when we talk about separation of power, this doesn't mean that the judges are up here and they get to oversee the president and oversee Congress. That's not co-equal branches of government. Yeah, that would be the judicial, the executive, and the legislative being co-equal, not judicial up here, and then the president has to do yes or no to every single judge in the entire United States. Well, there's 600 or 700 judges all have to say yes to every single decision that Donald Trump makes. As how many of you voted for these judges? Absolutely zero. Now, how many of you voted for Donald Trump? Almost 80 million of you. Okay, these judges want to be president. They need to go and they need to run for office. Okay, if they want to be Secretary of State, they need to go and they need to be brought in by the president. They don't get to decide that they're Secretary of State or that they're in charge of the military or that they're somehow in the president's cabinet or they're president themselves from the bench. That's the separation of powers. Okay, this executive privilege is Donald Trump's and Donald Trump's alone. Just like Congress's privilege is to write laws. Only Congress can do so. Same thing with like SCOTUS in the legislative branch, where they get to determine individual law. They don't get to rule over like every single policy decision that Donald Trump makes, especially a foreign policy or every single executive order he makes. They know it. They know they're going to lose and they don't care. Well, all they're trying to do now is they're trying to delay as much time as they can and hopefully run up the clock on Donald Trump. And then once the clock comes out, hopefully they can come back into power and then do exactly what Biden did, just start ignoring the law again and spread liberalism and progressivism until there's nothing left but communism. If that's the Democrats' goal, that is their only goal. And they get a lot of help from the fake news networks, like over at Fake News CNN. As we're going to play this part into 2 clips. And the first clip we're going to play is I want to listen to how Fake News CNN, how they word this question to Stephen Miller, because they do this all the time where they're very dishonest, where they have somebody like Stephen Miller they don't like, where they'll ask a very loaded question, try to make it look like he's the bad guy. Or they'll do it, what they'll do with the other side, the Democrats, is they'll ask them very loaded questions that they either know are lie or know are half-truths, and they'll let the Democrats lie on their network, and they'll just sit there. And they'll just sit there and they'll let them lie, and there's never any pushback whatsoever. And so watch how Fake News frames this question, and then see how you would answer it.
Yet, even just yesterday we saw, whenever a judge rules against this administration, you say they're going rogue. Do you think a judge should just rubber stamp what your White House does? If not, what checks and balances do you think should be in place for this White House?
When I say you never hate fake news enough, I mean you will never hate fake news enough. Did you see how she worded that there? She could have asked him any number of questions. She could have answered him just a very neutral question. You know, how do you think about the judge's rulings? But instead, she tried to frame it in such a way that Stephen Miller was just so extreme and so insane, because you see, every time a judge rules against Donald Trump's, well, then they're a rogue judge, right? So it's not the judges that are out of line. It's the Trump administration, as they're trying to push this hoax of this constitutional crisis and this threat to our democracy. When it really is the Democrats that are trying to create a constitutional crisis through these rogue activist judges. CNN knows it. These judges knows it. And just like Stephen Miller's about to prove right here, that everybody knows what they're doing is wrong. Yet they're still trying to do it anyways. You will never hate these people enough, ever. And listen to how Stephen Miller, how he just handles her, because this, I couldn't say it any better. So here is Stephen Miller.
Do we think district court judges should rubber stamp each action? There is a premise that is built into that is absurd. The president is the sole head of the executive branch. He's the only officer in the entire government that's elected by the entire American people. Democracy cannot function. In fact, democracy does not exist at all if each action the president takes, foreign policy, diplomatic, military, national security, has to be individually approved by 700 district court judges. That's democracy. So if there's 15 communist crazy judges on the court, that each of them as a team working together can block and freeze each and every executive action.
Folks, I cannot tell you how right Stephen Miller is here. He is 100% right on the ball. You can't run a government like this. And this is what the Democrats do, and this is what they were very hoping for. You remember after they lost the election, what was the first thing the Democrats did? Remember Elizabeth Warren, if you go back, and all these Democrats, we have to get as many judges on the bench as we can. Why we had the power to do so. Okay, they had already lost the election. You had already voted for Donald Trump. So this is essentially what they call a lame duck Congress, which means you had already voted for Donald Trump's administration. So all they should be really doing right now is just making the transition peaceful for Donald Trump to come in power and then carry out the will that you voted for. But the Democrats, they don't think about it that way at all. In fact, the way they think about it is they are the elites, they are the betters, and they are right. And if you disagree with them, that's not because they're wrong. That's just because you're not educated enough, you're not smart enough, you're not bright enough, you don't understand social justice, you don't understand DEI. You don't understand that they are born to rule over you. that they are smarter than you, that they are better than you, they are wiser than you, and you're just too dumb to get it. Okay, that's how the Democrats look at you. They despise you. That's why they're in their own, what we call a liberal elite bubble. They only talk to each other because they're so, you just sense it on like this. It's almost a slime that comes off them, right? Just the sheer arrogance, just the hubris in them. Whenever time this stuff gets pointed out, and even when it does, all of a sudden they pretend they're a victim. You know, I'm a black woman, or you know, it's just mean white people, and you know, if they shouldn't be doing any of this, and it's very bad and mean. Hogwash. Now they're standing back, and this is their last resort, is all these judges that they put on the bench, and they do what we call judge shopping. Well, they'll go and they'll try to file lawsuits somewhere that's very friendly to Democrats. They love to go like New York, California, Washington, D.C., those kind of places in the country where they think they can get judges. And what's really amazing in this random judge pool that's supposed to be, it seems like every single time the exact same most radical judges get the most important decisions handed to them. And like the same 5 judges over and over and over again when there's, you know, 700, I think roughly 700 judges on the federal bench. And then they just sign a piece of paper and they think that they can just sign anything they want, that they get to arbitrarily declare what is legal and what is not from behind their bench. When that's not the way the law is supposed to work at all. They don't get to write law and they don't get to interpret law, not in that way. They're supposed to enforce the law that's already there. And the law is the Constitution of the United States, that Donald Trump has exclusive executive authority that he doesn't share with 700 judges. I'm trying to remember the stats. I should have put this in and see if I remember some of this down. So the Democrats, they have 150 lawsuits going against Donald Trump. Okay, here it is. As I look down at my notes. So the district judge issued 71 nationwide injunctions against Donald Trump in his first term, more than Obama 27 over 8 years. And I want to say over half of them ever written have been in the last decade or so than have ever been written in the history of the United States. And almost all exclusively against Donald Trump. You just can't run a government like this. Just like Stephen Miller, as the more I listen to this guy talk, the more I like him. As he is, I think, one of Donald Trump's very best picks to go and to be on his administration, because he just lays it out perfectly. You can't have a federal government if the president can't do anything without getting a yes or a no from 700 judges. Okay, SCOTUS gave us a huge win with deporting these illegal migrants, but they need to get off their butts and they need to say these national injunctions can't keep happening. These judges don't have that authority. For why the reasons the SCOTUS are not doing their freaking job. And at some point, Donald Trump is going to have to react to this. More than quietly ignoring some of these illegal rulings from these judges. As the thing that Donald Trump is doing, I think very wisely, is that he is getting the ball rolling on all this stuff very early on in his administration. And getting all these court cases going. And the Democrats, they're falling for all of it. Right? Like you said, 150 lawsuits. Probably the biggest mistake, I think, well, there's a few, but one of the biggest mistakes that Donald Trump made in his first term is he waited too long to get a ball rolling on a lot of this stuff. He was very reactionary and not proactive. And so what happened is when we got to the end of his first administration, and 2020 happened, all these lawsuits and stuff that were going through the courts just got removed, and Biden came in and didn't pursue them. So we never got final rulings. Or how many times, what do you get? Like 70 something do not have standings, which is impossible. But this is what we're facing. We're facing a judicial coup. And Trump very wisely is getting ahead of this now and fighting back. And with that, I'm up against another clock. When we come back, we have Joe Biden, who came out of hiding as the Democrats never ever wanted this. And then we have also women's rights are right back on the front and center right now, as we have another biological male dominating women. You're not going to miss any of that. It will be right back to this greedy profit break. This is the Cash Loren Show. solution towards streaming across. StreamYard is the all-in-one solution towards streaming video online across multiple platforms. It is the same program that I use to host and produce this show every single day, both live streaming across multiple platforms, as well as doing pre-recorded videos to put up, whether it be a YouTube, X, or anywhere else on the internet. If you are looking for a host for your live streams, look no further. Click on the link below and sign up for StreamYard today. You will not regret it. It is both user-friendly for beginners, easy to understand, and has lots of tools built inside it. Don't wait. Click on the link below and sign up for StreamYard today. Creators, are you tired of spinning your wheels, posting over and over again, yet you seem to gain no traction and no growth? We have a solution called the Accelerator. This is what I use to grow my account from 0 to now over 25,000 followers and counting. This program will teach you how the algorithm works and how to maximize your time with third-party tools to 10x your growth. I purchased it and I'm glad I did, and you will be too. Click on the link below and you will not only be for your benefit gaining the Accelerator course, but you will also be helping the show by a small percentage being donated back here. So click on the link below, sign up for the Accelerator today. I am glad I did, and I know that you will too. If you are watching this show, then you are probably sick and tired of the corporate media we call fake news lying to you every single day. You are not alone. This has caused many citizen journalism, as much as I hate to say the J word, that's really what we're doing, is exposing the fake news networks and the corrupt government every day without the filter of the corporate media deciding what you can and cannot know. Many of us make these videos with the extra room that we have in our houses, just like I am here in our spare bedroom. But making these is not free. We have families to feed as well. If you are enjoying this content, then it will always be free, and I thank you for your support. But if you want to help monetarily, there is a great way to do that on Locals. Click on the link below, sign up for our different tiered programs, and we will have additional content for you based on the level that you sign up for, including being thanked in the end of videos every single day. Take a moment, if you enjoy this content, and sign up for the monetary support and help us stay on air and offer you more benefits, such as more shows and better production. So sign up for today at Locals and support the citizen journalisms and help us get past the fake news networks. Well, these judges that are trying to take away all of your rights, this judicial coup, have gone to a whole nother level now. Welcome back to the Cash Loren Show. Is we will go and we will make liberals cry tears that are saltier than McDonald's fries. Well, apparently judges decided that they can do any crime. Did you know that? That there's nothing a judge can do that is off record. Because according to the judges, they have decided that they have complete immunity from anything. And this is coming from this report now where over 130 retired judges filed a legal brief demanding that Judge Hannah Dugan charges be dropped. They reminded Hannah Dugan she was the judge that was caught assisting an illegal immigrant escape ICE custody. And what she did is these ICE agents, they were in court and they were going to arrest this illegal immigrant. She saw that was going to happen, and so she hid the illegal immigrant from these ICE agents. Then she went and she told the ICE agents to go and talk to the Chief Justice, right, to clear out the hallway. What she didn't know is not all the ICE agents left. She only knew, I think there was 2. So since she went back in and she took the illegal immigrant through what they call like a secure door or the jury door. And this is essentially a hallway that's not open up to the public. And usually, if you've ever been in a jury, at least the juries that I've been in here in my state, is you'll go and you'll be in the jury's booth, and then there's a door behind the judge, kind of off the side of the judge, like only the jurors that can use. And it's a secure door, and then there's a hallway inside it with two doors that are both also secured. So no one in, no one out. And then when the jury gets dismissed, they go straight out that door into another door where they basically got the jury room, where there's no public, right? There's nothing back there except jurors and the judge. But even the judge, you're not supposed to be in the hallway at the same time, at least in my state. They would have us sit in the jury room and wait for the judge to go back and forth until the judge was done, and then we would be let in and let out. So the bailiffs did their best, and I'm getting sidetracked. But the point of that is that this was a secure hallway. And so she took this illegal immigrant out the jury door into the secure hallway to try to evade ICE. But ICE left the officers behind. They saw her do it, and they chased down this illegal immigrant and arrested them. Now she's facing charges for invading and vetting this illegal immigrant. Is she guilty? I think so. I mean, are judges above the law? It's kind of ironic because Donald Trump actually did have immunity, and they tried to argue and ignore this anyways, and even strip him of his immunity. But now what they're essentially trying to say is that judges have absolute immunity for official acts. And let's be clear a minute about immunity for things like judges and police officers, because there is a certain amount of immunity, but this immunity comes from civil lawsuits. But this is such as they don't have to worry about being sued to death for making a mistake on the bench or doing something wrong, so they can do their job. And it's supposed to be done in good faith, and we can get into that at another time, whether the judges actually are or not. But this is, for example, like let's say you're a police officer and you're not scared to arrest somebody because some activist group will then come and sue you until you have nothing left. Okay, that's what these are supposed to protect. But they're trying to argue that a judge can do anything. Well, so then where's the limits? What if a judge just decides to be judge, jury, and executioner? Can the judge pull out a gun and pull the trigger? I mean, where is the law? See, that's the issue. They're trying to say official acts. Is an official act of a judge to help an illegal immigrant evade arrest? Does that count as an official act? I don't think so. Do you? What about if a judge just decides, you know what, they've been found guilty, but I'm just going to let them go. Or, I'm just not going to charge them. How often do we see that in these DC and in all these Democrat-controlled courts? Well, they will just refuse to charge people. See, that's the abuse of the immunity system. But this goes to a whole new level. And I wonder, too, on these federal judges, when they sit back and they're doing all these national injunctions, is this obstruction? If they knowingly know that they don't have the authority to do this, to write these injunctions, and then they write them anyways because they're Democrat activists, I'm asking, is that impediment? Is that obstruction? Maybe that's something that Kash Patel and Pam Bondi need to look into. Because at some point, we're going to have to put an end to this judicial coup. Right now, we're only 4 months into Donald Trump's administration, but they're doing everything they can, obviously, right? Even a child can understand what's happening in these court systems right now. And enough is enough. And the Democrats, they're on their back heels because they have been so corrupt and so blatantly obvious to the American voters that they have lost power over the federal government. They thought they'd never lose. And now they're trying to blame it all on Joe Biden's administration. And that's their newest hoax, right? Because they go from one lie to the next. And Joe Biden, they just want him to go away, right? Just please announce you have cancer, go in your basement, and just go away. Please, Joe Biden, stop. You're hurting us. But Joe Biden is so arrogant and so prideful that he came out today and he decided to be an angry old man. And he started yelling at everybody. And then he met with reporters now after they wouldn't let him talk for reporters for 4 years while he's president. And this is one of the many reasons why.
Because I'm loyal. I do it every damn year at the very beginning. I never forget where I came from.
Look how creeped out she is. What's he doing in my face? He's not going to sniff my hair, is he? What's he doing?
And there's also been a lot of discussion recently about your mental and physical capabilities while you were in office.
You can see that. I'm mentally incompetent, and I can't walk, and I can beat the hell out of both of them.
Why did they not let Joe Biden talk to the press? Please help me understand why. Because he can't walk, he can't talk, he can't think. Joe Biden does Joe Biden. And it's cancer's sad and it's horrible, obviously. And they're going to try to twist this guy crap because this is how they're using this cancer. Is there one they're trying to say that he hasn't had tests since 2014, and every single doctor that I've seen, so there's no way that he didn't know until a few weeks ago. This stage of cancer is impossible, according to the experts, to the doctors, to the science. Going off what they said. And now, conveniently, after Tapper's book comes out, and after all the Democrats in the mainstream media are trying to throw the Joe Biden administration under the bus, not because they're turning on Democrats, not because journalists all of a sudden have a single journalistic bone in their body, not one bit. No, the reason why they're doing this all is because they are trying to protect Democrats. And they know how bad this is for the Democrat Party. And so they're trying just to throw Joe Biden under the bus. But make no mistake, the moment Joe Biden's out of the way, they'll still do what they're doing. They'll still hate Donald Trump just like they are. And then every time the Democrats do something, the fake news networks and the Democrats will look the other way. Now, we just had the one the other day where David Ahog, for example, the ex-DC chair, where he was going in and he was saying that he believes that Nancy Pelosi was insider trading. Of how could she make a couple $100,000 a year and be worth $200+ million? Well, that's a great question, David Hogg. How about the rest of Congress? How they can quite often outperform even the best financial wizards in the world? I think that question needs to be answered too. But at the other end, David Hogg says, but if I go up against Nancy Pelosi, if I push for this, well, then I won't get what I want. I won't get gun control. So therefore, we just look the other way. The Democrats are criminals. And Joe Biden, they knew how out of it he was for years. Do not ever doubt that for a second. Fake news knew. The White House knew. His aides knew. They all covered it up together because it was in the Democrats' best interest. Until it wasn't in the best interest when he got embarrassed on the stage with Donald Trump debate when Make My Day, pal. And then Donald Trump made his day. And ended Joe Biden's career. They brought in Kamala Harris, and the rest is history. Now Donald Trump is our president.
Why didn't they run against me then? Because I'd have beaten them.
Do you have any regrets?
He's so creepy.
Look, there's a lot going on, and I think we're in a really difficult moment, not only in American history, but in world history. I think we're at one of those inflection points in history, where the decisions we make in the next little bit are going to determine what things look like.
Wait, every single one of those reporters there know about the auto pen. The auto pen being that the auto pen itself is not the problem, right? Somebody used an auto pen to sign their signature. That's not the ultimate issue with this. The issue is, did Joe Biden know? Did he authorize? Because Joe Biden, just like Donald Trump, is the only U.S. president. So he is the only power to sign these executive orders or to sign these pardons. That is exclusive to him alone. It's not to his aides. It's not to Jill Biden. It's not to Hunter Biden. It's not to Elizabeth Warren or Barack Hussein Obama. I don't know who signed these documents, whether it was Joe Biden or not, but we need to know the answer. Because if it wasn't Joe Biden, then these are felonies. And every single one of those executive orders then are null and void. And we do have laws like elder reviews. If Joe Biden was incapacitated, if he had dementia or he had cancer, whatever the heck was going on with him, we can stare at walls or go wandering off. I don't know where they shot him up today, but he was right back to that old angry man. So you be the judge. Let me know what you think. Because the Democrats, they are losing at levels that I've never seen before. Write notes here real quick. See if I can find them real quick. because we had some of the Democrats, here they are, where they are so unpopular, they don't know how to get away with this because they're on the wrong side of every single issue. And now apparently Pete Buttigieg, his beard is working with the Democrats. It was AOC and Bernie Sanders that they were trying to pros. Remember they're against the oligarchy while they're flying around in the private jets? Well, that didn't go over very well either. So now Pete Buttigieg has decided that he is going to grow a beard and he's going to be a manly man. Except that he's white, so I thought Democrats hated whites. But maybe with a beard, he's gay. So is that enough check boxes that he's not a bad white? I don't know. I can't really make sense of any of these identity politics, the Democrats. It seems like whatever rules, they just change them based on however they feel that day, whatever they need to gain power. And one of the many rules that they're on the wrong side of is women's rights. And here we have a clip where they're interviewing, CNN again is interviewing, and watch how they phrase these questions on women's rights after a biological male has been beating the snot out of biological females.
With federal law to accept federal funds.
All right, so this is in California. And Donald Trump is considering cutting federal funds because they're ignoring Title IX, meaning they're allowing biological males to be in women's sports. Just like what happened in Minnesota, where you have this biological male who is beating up all these women, who struck out the championship team to 2 straight no-hitters. The best team that was all women. Right, this weak beta male, and this is what happens over and over again, is these so-called males that transition to females, they can't compete with other males, but the reality is men are bigger, stronger, and faster. So even these weak, pathetic beta males that can't compete on the men's side, they can dominate women's side. But watch how fake news frames this, as she's talking about cutting off the federal funds.
It's fair for her to compete for those who are competing against her. What would that kind of structure in competition look like?
Who is her?
AB.
What would be fair is to have Hernandez competing in the male category. It is not fair to the females competing to have to compete with.
Okay, so.
Yeah, 100% facts, right? Is what is fair? See, this is the way the Democrats, this is why they're on the wrong side of every single issue that we face today. Because they're not asking about the other women, right? They're not asking about the championship team that's not going to be a champion now because a single biological male beat them all up. Or like on the track stars, for example, where you have this biological male who's pretending that they're female, goes in their very exact same time, right? They ran as a male, their very exact same time, exact same category, exact same school, was dead last in the men's. They won the championship in the women's. Wrestling, same thing. Weightlifting, same thing. Volleyball, these poor women get a ball spiked in their face so fast that it smashes out their teeth. If this is wrong and everybody knows it, except the Democrats have decided that it's stunning and brave to abuse women and reduce them simply to abortions, to killing off their young. Probably one of the most satanic things that a human can do. But the Democrats, they are drunk off the blood of the innocent. And they couldn't care less about women's rights as she continues to phrase these questions in the worst possible way.
In Trump's federal funding threat, is that something, though, that would hurt all student athletes, including athletes who are assigned female at birth? But you understand.
All right, I love the looks on her face because she's trying to follow along with how insane this woke mind virus is. Okay, what was she doing 2 seconds ago on CNN? We was talking 2 seconds ago about how, it was all about this biological male's rights, and they're ignoring the biological female's rights. Now, how would they feel? Now, all of a sudden, they're just going to cut federal funds. Now she's trying to switch to the other side. Well, what about all these biological females? Well, the answer is really simple. No biological men in biological women's sports or spaces. That's the very simple answer.
Julie, you understand there's two views here on Title IX. So just to be clear, not everyone agrees with you on how you're viewing it. So in that regard, if you were to take away the funding on as it pertains to trans athletes. Not everyone agrees with you. I think we just have to be clear about that. If you are taking away,
I don't care if everybody agrees with you or not. I don't care. They say facts don't care about your feelings. The science is the science, right? You reach down, you know. You can look at most and you can know, but there's biological differences. There's things that men can do that women can't do. And there are things that women can do that men can't do. That all of you know what I'm talking about, even on a PG-13 show. But here is fake news. They only care about the biological male that they want to be in to beat up women. And then they will try to embarrass and hurt you if you go up against it, right? I think most parents, right, put it up for a vote. I bet you almost every single parent, even in California, would say they don't want biological men in women's sports. I mean, what do you want to take me the over-under on? The Democrats, here they go again.
The funds for athletes, student athletes in California, isn't that going to hurt all of them?
Taking away federal funds is going to hurt all California kids, which is why the state of California needs to comply with federal law. It's very simple.
Yeah, it is very simple. 100%. You either obey the law or you suffer the consequences. Isn't that what the Democrats always say, right? Nobody is above the law, except for the Democrats when they decide that they want to break it because they're so used to the two-tier justice system that they think they can just make up what they want and ignore what they don't like. They just like the Democrats, they did this to every state, everywhere, right? If you didn't comply with the federal government, they try to send the DOJ after you, or they try to cut your federal funding for not complying. So fair game, right? I mean, how many of you want biological males in women's spaces? Okay, how many of you want your daughter competing against a biological male? Right? Virtually none of you do. And they try to shame you and to shut you up. Right? They try to sue you. They try to slander you. They try to call you all these names to try to get you to go with something that you know is wrong, because they're, again, on the wrong side of an 80-20 issue, but it's probably more like 90-95 to 10-5.
So when you dig into the science on trans athletes, what is really clear is that there needs to be a lot more research on a lot more trans athletes to be able to draw better conclusions about the effect of whether gender-affirming care actually reduces or eliminates the advantage conferred on an athlete who is genetic.
Okay, ask Riley Gaines about Leah Thomas's advantages. All right, we can go down the list over and over and over again. If every single sport these biological males go into women's, they beat them up. And it's because of simple biological facts. It's the reason the WNBA doesn't play in the NBA. There's a reason why you don't see women in the NFL. Right? This is why we fought for all these rights and protections. Because there is reality. Men are bigger, stronger, and faster. And yes, there are some exceptions. Right? I'm sure there's plenty of women out there that can run faster than I can. But can those very same women beat the best male runners in the world? Obviously not. Right? All of you know this. You will never hate these fake news scumbags enough. As they try to twist and turn over and over again, right, is that they're essentially trying to penalize women for not allowing biological males in the sports. They have to say on one hand, right, is that it's not fair for you for this one biological male, right, for the, I don't know how many on their sports teams, what, 20, 30, whatever, for that one biological male, right, to get his way versus all these other women. And then on the other hand, when they try to suffer a penalty for this one biological male in the biological females, then also, well, isn't it not fair that all these biological females will suffer because you're not allowing this biological male in their sports? It's such sick, twisted, liberal logic. This is the woke mind virus.
Male. Would you welcome more research? Is this a situation where more research might help? So there are obviously clear benefits to playing sports, to competing in sports. So when you're looking at an athlete like A.B. Hernandez, what would you have her do so that she can benefit from sporting?
It's very simple answer, but the Democrats don't want to hear it. They have a predetermined endpoint, right? This is basically equity. Equity means that the ending is what's important. And so however you get to that ending, it doesn't matter what crime you do. It doesn't matter what laws you ignore, because they think that they're morally right. That's not equality. Equality is biological boys get their own sports and biological women get their own sports. That is the answer. It is very simple. You're a biological male, you compete with the biological males. You're a biological female, you compete with the biological females. And if they want to make a transgender league, then by all means make a transgender league. I don't care. But at the end of the day, if women don't stand up and they don't fight for this, they're going to lose their rights and they're going to lose their spaces. Because people like me and others, we can bring the attention to what's happening, right? We can show videos of like what happened in Minnesota when this biological male is throwing softballs so hard they look like fastballs and the women can't hit them. Now you take that same biological male and you put him on the man's team, and the male's team is hitting home run after home run after home run. That's the evidence. And they just try in the fake news, what they do when they have a narrative, they just ignore anything that they don't want you to see. Like track stars that lose the men's dominate women. Like you just saw in California, this biological male in the triple jump and long jump dominated all the women and is now going to the state championship. Minnesota, the best team in the world, or in Minnesota, excuse me, can't beat a single biological male. Or where you go, Leah Thomas, biological male, wins a national championship at college. The examples go on and on and on and on. That's the science. We don't need more research. We just need to tell fake news that facts don't care about your feelings, that the experts say and the science says. And with that, I am way over. The rest of these stories I'll have to go back in the stack for another day. I appreciate each and every one of you. We'll be back again on today's Friday, so we'll be back again on Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. Thank you for wherever you're watching the show. We're broadcasting this, I think, to 5 different locations now. So we'll be back again Monday. I hope you have a great weekend, and God bless the USA. Greetings, independent thinkers. We have come to a top of another hour. If you're enjoying this content, please make sure you have subscribed, turn on notifications, but most importantly, share an American First message with your friends and family so we can help fight back against the Democrats and their propagandists over at the fake news networks. Also, take a moment to consider subscribing to us on Locals at the Cash Loren Show, where for a very small amount of money every month, you'll get many additional perks, including your name at the end of videos. I could be up the screen here in just a moment. A follow and increase engagement and exclusive lists on that I use on X. That sounds interesting to you. Go over to locals.com at the Cash Loren Show. Hit the subscribe button for about a cup of coffee a month and help us stay independent and free of the fake news networks and bring you the truth every single day, just like these fine patriots have. At the end of the video, be on your screen here in just a moment.